G'day everybody, my name is Elliot Waters and you're listening to the Dysregulated podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in. Well, this is it. We've hit the end of the road, the end of the line as far as medications go anyway. I am not trialling anything new. I've had a gutful. The medications that we're on at the moment, this is it. They are locked in and that's as good as it's going to get, unfortunately, because these meds just haven't done the job for me. So the psychological intervention is going to have to take on even more of the burden than I originally thought. Before I get into a little bit more about that burden, let's look at the medications that I'm on. So we're on clomipramine, the tricyclic antidepressant. We've got lamotrigine, the mood stabilizer. We've got pregabalin, which is the anti-anxiety medication. We've got propranolol, and we've got quetiapine. So these are the medications, they're locked in. Now look, this is why I'm sighing and I've got a problem with this. Because, all right, imagine you're depressed, right? When you're really bad, like really bad, you're in the hole, right? You're in the hole. And when you're in the hole, you cannot do the things that you know you should be doing because you are just too bloody depressed. You're too far in the hole to even think properly. It's just all about trying to get through the next moment, and survival, essentially. That is what it comes down to when you're really, really deep in that hole. Now, I've been in that hole before, quite a few times. I've been down in that hole. And the problem, or the issue is, if you want to get really stuck into these psychological interventions, you've got to be in a certain mind frame. You know, you've got to be open to change. You've got to be open to trying new things and putting the effort in that's required. And when you are in deep in the hole, there is no chance that you will be able to do that because all your effort is going towards survival in the next moment. You can only think 5 minutes ahead. That is it. So the problem is, if you're in the hole, you can't do the psychological interventions. Now, this hole's pretty deep. This is a deep hole. So, you know, when you're near the top of the hole, it's not as bad as if you're at the bottom, okay? Now, I would say that I am 2/3 of the way out of this hole, you know. I might even have a hand on the surface, which, yeah, I reckon I'd have a hand on the surface. Not too bad. But we're still in the hole, okay? We're still, at times, we are in this hole still. Now, what I wanted the medications to do, this is, you know, I didn't think the medications were going to cure everything. You can't medicate personality. You can't medicate self-esteem. You know, these are concepts and constructs that you just have to get out in psychological therapies, and then they can really go to the core of them. But when you're deep in the hole, like I said, you can't engage with these psychological therapies. And I wanted the medications, as I said, I didn't think the medications were going to cure me. I never thought that. But what I really hoped was that the medications would ensure that I wouldn't go back in the hole. Yeah, we might still be suffering from elements of depression, social anxiety disorder, the autism, the, you know, ADHD, OCD, whatever. But I really wanted to be out of the hole so I could really engage with the psychological therapies properly. But the problem is the medications haven't done that job. They've done a little bit of a job, but they haven't done that much of a job. And it's really, really disappointing because I've trialed like 29 different medications now. I've had medications from all the major subsets, you know, antipsychotics, mood stabilizers, antidepressants, etc. And unfortunately, none of these medications, whether on their own or combined, have been able to consistently keep me out of the hole. So this is a bit of a problem because I was really banking on the fact that the meds would do just that, and then we would get stuck into the psychological therapies, and that is when we will build a life worth living. But unfortunately, like I keep saying, that hasn't occurred, and it is very disappointing. So the psychological interventions are going to have to really take on more of the load. Now, that's not necessarily a problem because these interventions, especially the behavioural interventions, are things that I should be doing anyway and that we all should be doing, which is all part of creating a happy, healthy lifestyle. You know, we're talking going to bed the right time, sleep hygiene sort of stuff. We're talking meditating every day. We're talking, you know, exercising, drinking water, eating good food. You know, these are the initial behavioural steps that we're looking at first. So once I lock these in, then we'll start looking at the cognitive stuff and the way that I'm thinking and try and straighten that out. So, you know, fingers crossed that, because as I said, I'm not in the hole all the time at the moment, which is great. I get out of it and then I get pushed back in and then I jump out of it. So what I'm hoping is that when I jump out of it, is when I happen to go to therapy, and then the good habits and the new ways of thinking and the cognitive restructuring and all this sort of stuff will keep me out of the hole, and then we'll progress further. But I really wanted the medications to provide that initial step, because, as I said, at times you get pushed back, and I really wanted there to be a solid wall created out of these medications that do not let me go back into the hole. But unfortunately, the wall's only, a meter high, and we still trip over it and get pushed back in sometimes. So, a little bit disappointing, but as I said, this is it. This is the reality. We've tried all these different medications. I do not want to try any more because they all come with side effects, and, you got to wait. Doctors say 4 weeks, to see if they work, but you read the research, it's more like 6 to 8 weeks. I just cannot be bothered doing another 6 to 8 weeks with new medications that probably aren't going to work anyway. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's counterproductive, I think, because you focus on the fact that, this new medication, when's it going to start to click? Are these side effects? Oh no, is this a side effect, or am I just not feeling well today? What's the story? Forget that. I'm over that. I've been doing that for years. I've had a gutful of it. So it's time to finally really engage with the psychological therapies. Now, just a quick word on that. I'm going to expand on this in future episodes, what that actually means. But, this is taking, I've really got to change my mind frame on this sort of stuff. I've never really engaged with the psychological therapies and interventions properly. And the reason for that is because I've had this thought, and I still do, this belief, that if we give it everything we've got and we don't get the results that we're after, then that means we're totally screwed because there's no options left. So if we half-ass it and don't do these interventions properly, don't follow what my psychologist is saying, not doing the right things, if we don't give it our all and it doesn't work, then we can say, if I just put in a bit more effort, I'm sure it would have worked. And there's that sort of safety net, that cognitive sort of safety net that says, it didn't work, but it could work if we did this. So don't stress. It's all good. We've still got options up our sleeve. So I've got to get over that mentality too and really engage properly, because that's it now. That's it. The medications aren't going to do the job. It's as simple as that, which we always sort of knew, but it's become clear now that they're not going to work. Because, the psychiatrist here at the hospital pretty much said to me that, you're that complex, and, you're going to have to just get into CBT, into the DBT, these psych therapies, because the medications just aren't going to cut it. So, this isn't just me saying it, the psychiatrist has said it too. So that's what we're up against. We are now throwing ourselves 100% into the psychology stuff, which it's amazing. I've got a degree in psychology. Have I mentioned that before? I've got a degree in psychology, an honours degree. And for some reason, I never thought that the stuff that I was learning would apply to me. I remember at first I thought psychology was a waste of time. Then I thought psychology is really good for other people. Doesn't work for me because I'm special for some reason, but other people will benefit. And now we're at the stage, finally, we've grown up and matured a bit and thought, hang on, I think the psych stuff is very, very relevant to me. And we need to give it our all because, that's it. That's it. It's the hard work. We can't be just having a couple of pills in the morning and everything's all good. We got to really rip in and give it everything we've got. And I'm pretty excited about that. I mean, this is a new frame of mind for me. I've never gone into therapy, because I've stopped and started therapy a lot, but I've never gone into therapy in this frame of mind before, which is exciting. It's not something to be worried about. It is something to be excited about. So, it's not all bad news, but the real work in a lot of ways starts now. And I'm going to tell you all about it as we go along. So there you go. All right. Thank you for listening. That's the latest. Medications aren't going to fix me, but the psych therapies will. And we are ready to rip in. As always, thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it. Got any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at thedysregulated.podcast or at elliot.t.waters. All right, thank you guys. I'll see you next time here on the Dysregulated podcast.